Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. Today's going to be kind of a show and tell day. I know a couple of segments ago I showed you some recorders and I said there are about 5 or 6 actually, type of recorders that you can use for professional work. And I didn't have them all with me because of the fact I had so many other things to carry. So I brought them back again with two of the biggest ones I have that I didn't have at that time. I want to show you the range of what these recorders are like. So I'm going to start off with that this morning. So this is a sopranino. I showed that before, and it's the smallest one that you can get for professional work. And I have used it a lot, but it's very, very high in pitch. This one here is a soprano, which most people play, and it's a very beautiful instrument. It has a wonderful tone, and it has a 2-octave range. You can play almost anything with it, as long as you're playing in the key of C, D, F, or B flat. It can do all of those pretty easily, and I've squeezed out E flat before, and I've squeezed out C minor before, but most people don't do that. But there it is. Now I'm going to show you some of the larger ones. This happens to be an alto in the key of F. I'm going to hold it like this. It's really fairly large compared to the sopranino. It's also in the key of F. So it's, I'm going to read off what the characteristics are. Let me just hold it up here. We may not be able to get a total shot. Yeah, that's it. You can see how much larger it is than the sopranino, but they're both in the key of F. And then I've got 2 more that I want to show you. And this one here is going to be the C tenor. It's an absolutely amazing little instrument. In the key of C, it's got a voice to it. It's very, very beautiful. I use it a lot, and it's just a wonderful instrument. And it does have some keys right here. And most of the recorders have no keys, but there are a couple of keys here because the finger stretches are so wide that you have to add some keys in order to be able to play the notes that in the lower register toward the end of the instrument. And then the biggest one that I have is going to be the folded bass in the key of F. This is a good 36 inches long. Let me hold it over here. It's a good 36 inches long, and it does have sets of keys. There's a key right here, there's a key right here, and then you have 2 keys on the bottom because you never would be able to play all the notes. I'll just move it a little here. See how the top of it is folded. This is a folded bass. Would be the neck piece. The saxophones have neck pieces that are folded. And this is a very, very large mouthpiece. I also sometimes say you've got to have a mouth the size of a horse to play it. But it's not that hard to play. I mean, it's very easy to play, but it's very large, and that makes it a little bit cumbersome if you have problems with finger stretches and so forth. But the keys are a great help. So I play this actually more often than I play the tenor, because of the fact that the keys are available. So let me read off once again. I should mention, there is another recorder that's bigger. The straight basses, the great basses, they are played standing up. You put them on the floor. They're a lot bigger than this. This would be like a junior in comparison with them. But they're thousands of dollars. They are not cheap, and I'm not able to buy one. But at any rate, if I could afford it, I probably would. So let me read off once again the characteristics of these instruments. You can just look at it as I'm talking. I did this once before, but I think since I have them all here, I'd like to do it again. The sopranino is 9.5 inches long. 9.5 inches long. It's in the key of F, very, very high pitch. Now, I'm just going to play a few notes on it. I've come back from major surgery and they damaged my vocal cords. They're in the process of healing, so this may not be as good as I'd like, but anyway. You can see the range is very high. That's the sopranino. Then we have the soprano that I play most of the time. The soprano, I'll hold it up like this. The soprano is sometimes called the treble. And, I'm sorry, the soprano is sometimes called the descant. And it's a melody instrument 12.5 inches long in the key of C. And here again, I love to play it because it's got a wonderful range on it. I arrange classical music for it. And you've heard me play it a lot, but so that is the soprano. Then we have the alto, which is in the key of F. I'm going to hold it like this. It is fairly large. It's a fairly large instrument. That alto is sometimes called the treble, and it's a principal instrument. It's in the key of F, and great composers of the past, like Bach and Handel, wrote solos for the alto because it's got a beautiful range, and it's a very nice instrument. And here again, your finger stretches will get to be a little difficult. Very nice tone on that. I've had people tell me that's their favorite instrument. This is the tenor in the key of C. I'll hold it like this. It's quite large, and the tenor is a melody instrument. This is 25.5 inches long. 25.5 inches long. It's used in ensembles a lot. It's got a very, very nice voice to it, and it's in the key of C. I'm only going to play a couple of notes here. Very nice solo instrument. And then, of course, the bass, which I'm still holding in my lap. Whoops. This bass is 36 inches long. But you get the great basses, which I don't have because I can't afford them, and they can be up to 54 inches long. They're absolutely huge, and you play them standing up, and they have a vocal, but I've shown you pictures of that, and I'll be showing you more pictures. So this is the bass. It's called the folded bass. Very, very beautiful instrument. I play it when I can. I play it as often as I can. And I'm arranging for some solo work for it now. And so the only thing I don't have, so I can't bring it in, but I have done pictures of it, the pictures of and the sketches of the great basses. Now today I also decided to bring in some of the translucent ones. What is a translucent instrument? It's an instrument that basically you can see through. You can see through it, but you may not be able to see terribly clearly, but you can see some of it. You know, the light is going through and you can see a little bit and see through it, although it may not be terribly clear. So it lets light in, and the reason I like them is the fact, one, they're very attractive, and two, if you're teaching somebody about how the instrument is structured, how it's made, and so forth, you can practically see it. And the colors are brilliant, so I'm going to just show you some of them and that I have here for translucent instruments. This is gold. You see how you can see through it? Now I'm just wondering if I put it to the side like this, can we get a close-up of the mouthpiece area? You can see that it's a tube, can't you? And there would be nothing in that tube. But I'll hold it out like this, and we'll just keep it steady so that he can get a close-up of the mouthpiece area. There's something that I want to show you. I've been talking a long time about how these instruments are made, and I've been talking about the block. But you can see right through that. It's almost like a shadow in there that you can see. There is some extra plastic forms in there, and you can see it. And the rest of it is your empty tube. I want to mention this because Rick, my director, mentioned it last week, and he's right. I hadn't even given it a thought. Most of these instruments have a block, and I'm going to show you this soprano, and you may not, we don't even need a close-up of it. You see the mouthpiece? You see this area right here? That's a block. That block becomes a part of the mouthpiece. It extends down, and the reason, and I'll put it to one side, the reason is you want the air coming out the labium. The labium is right here. So this, when you blow in here, the block in it, which is in this area, will stop the air from going in both directions and will squeeze the air down in a stream so it can come out the labium. That's the labium that you see. The little square on top is called the window. The bottom part, which is like a part of a piece of plastic that's slanted, is called the lip. The whole thing is the labium. But notice how wide it is. You start with this narrow area, you blow into it, you can see the block right here, and you see the block is going to, if you could see it, of course it's thick plastic and you can't, the air goes down here and out the labium. Now, some of the instruments like penny whistles and the flutophone, and I'm going to show you the flutophone now because it's a good example. You don't see, you don't see a block in the back. Most of the instruments have a block, and it's usually the same color or slightly different color than what the mouthpiece is around it. For penny whistles and flutophones, you do not see a block. Let me see. I was looking for, yeah, I'll use a penny whistle here. The penny whistles, we don't see a block. It's like a piece of plastic. But the one thing you have to notice, the mouthpieces are long and very narrow. It's not the same as if you had a recorder. If you have a recorder, they're kind of wider. But here it's narrow and it's skinny. You blow in here, and this squeezes the air, so it kind of becomes its own block, and then it goes through the labium, which is right below it. And in some of these instruments where you don't see a block, the labium is very close to the top end of the mouthpiece, so it squeezes the air right into the labium, and that's the way it is. So you don't have to have an extensive block. With I'll use the alto because it's so obvious in the alto. If you look at the mouthpiece, yeah, good, that's good. See how wide it is? You can see how wide it is. As compared to, I'm going to try to hold these up together. As compared, I better put this one down. Getting complicated here. The fat mouthpiece of the alto, the skinny mouthpiece of the flutophone. The flutophone is very, very narrow and kind of long. The air that goes into the windway of the alto is wider. The fact is that that's a good shot. The skinniness and the narrowness of the mouthpiece of the flutophone from here to here is going to squeeze the air into a thin stream, and it's going to go into, it's going to just go into the instrument. And this, of course, is wider. So the block, which is more, which you can see easily, just pushes the air down into the labium and doesn't allow the air to go everywhere. You're going to notice, you're going to particularly notice let me show you the penny whistle. I started to do that, and then I changed my mind. So let me get back to the penny whistle. This penny whistle the back of it. If I turn it to the side, it's very, very narrow. We'll see if we can get a close-up of that. It's like the top of the mouthpiece has been squeezed. It's long and it's narrow. Good, that's a terrific shot. You see, it's not wide right away, so that's going to squeeze the air right into the labium, where the labium is really close to where the mouthpiece is. You put your mouthpiece in, and your mouth is practically on top of the labium. You don't put it in your mouth that far down, but you put it in your mouth pretty far down. So the air goes in and it's squeezed right into the labium. So these instruments work on pretty much the same principle, and as long as the air is squeezed into a stream, and as long as it's all going in one direction, then you're in pretty good shape. This is the way these instruments are built. The Fipple mouthpiece is very similar between the recorders, the flutophones, the penny whistles, the sassotos, and I thought I had a sassoto here. I can't see it right now. And I want to show you this too. This is a Clark's. You can see the mouthpiece is somewhat similar, but do you see this wooden part? That's a part of the mouthpiece, and it really is like a block. That's wood. So it's a wooden Fipple mouthpiece, a wooden plugged Fipple mouthpiece. And the labium is practically right on top. Since it's black, it's going to be hard to pick it up, but the labium is right where my finger is. So you put it in your mouth, and your mouth is practically on top of the labium, but you've got that wood in it. Now the wooden plugged mouthpieces like that have a softer tone. They're not as brash, but they're nice. It's just you can't get a loud tone. You can see it's kind of a softer tone, but that's a good demonstration of what these mouthpieces are like. Now, I want to show you these translucents one at a time. I have a bunch of them. Here's the blue. These are all average size, so I don't need to have any particular close-ups of the mouthpiece. That's the blue. This is the pink. You can see practically right through them. So if I'm teaching about an instrument, this is how it's made, and let's take a look from here to here. It's basically a tube. Also, as I'm working with kids, they love the different colors, but so do adults. I've had a lot of people comment to me, this is gorgeous. It looks a little purpley on the monitor. It really is blue. And you can see how that swings right out. It's a recorder, and it swings right out, but you can see a little bit of my finger, I think, or you can look through it a little bit. It's a translucent, you can see through it. This is a green one. Very bright green. I don't know as the camera can do it justice, but here's the green one. Yellow. It's actually more gold than it is yellow. I'm calling it yellow, but it's more gold than yellow. Purple. This one has speckles on it. I thought I had more with speckles on it, but this is the only one I could come up with. And this is a one-piece instrument, but it's very nice in color, and it has speckles on it. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's kind of the purple one. Thanks. And I have a clear one here too. Let's see, let me show you. I have two clear ones, one which I pulled apart. This is the clear one. You can see right through it, it's like glass, you know? And here again, if you take a look at it, you can see this little division in the plastic when you get up to the mouthpiece. I don't know how clear that would come in. What I've done is I have taken one of these apart so you can see this is the tube, nothing in it. Don't drop. And here's the mouthpiece. This would be the head joint. And if I were to stick my conductor's baton in it, I can only get so far. I can't get to the top of it because there's plastic blocking it. This acts like a block, so the air can only go down in one direction and go to the labium, which is right here. Any of these instruments is the same. If I'm to take a piece of, or a strip of plastic or something and move it up, I only get to where the top of the top of the labium is right here, and I only can get to the top of the labium. It's all blocked off in there. So it's a fairly simple design, but it works. And because it works, we can get a lot of music out of these. Now, if you take a look, and I brought in two, I think I've got time enough to show this. Here we have a tonette. Whoops, I'll hold it like I did before so you can see it better. This is a tonette. This is a song flute. They're very much the same. They're built very much the same. If you look at the mouthpieces, they're very much the same. But you see the labium is way up here on this song flute, which has a pretty good tone. I use these occasionally. They have a pretty good tone. It seems like an elongated labium, and I know you can't pick this up because the instrument is black unless I can get a reflection here, but that labium extends down here, but it starts up here. So you get your mouth over that and you start playing and you're practically on top of the labium. So the air's only going to go in one direction anyway. The same thing is true of the tonette. Now the tonette, the labium starts right here, but that's right on the mouthpiece. Both of these are right on the mouthpiece. And if I'm to show you a comparison, the tonette doesn't play all that well, but it does work some. But it's just a one octave instrument, and the song flute's the same, but it has a better tone. Here again, I put my mouth on that, and the labium starts right here. If I wanted to extend it in, I'd cover the labium. There's no way you can get a second octave on, even though there's a tone hole. Even though there's a tone hole in the back of both of these, you can't get a second octave on it. You might be able to get one note, but you can't get a second octave on it. So these are the two little black ones. I do use them occasionally. I bring in the tonette and the song flute because some school systems use it. And when I get to the flutophone has got a little tone hole too. Notice the length of distance of this mouthpiece, and it's all narrow. But here again, the labium is on the mouthpiece practically. So this. It has the best tone of all three of them, and a lot of school systems do use them. This comes in two colors. It comes in white with the red, and that's what I usually use when I bring it in here because of the fact it's easier to see the tone holes. But it also comes in black with white trim. I think most people prefer the white with the red, but they sound exactly alike, and I have, of course, both of them. So I think we're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to close it here. And we're going to be showing you some of the other melody instruments of different colors next time. So please join me then.